Right, hi everyone, and welcome back to another podcast episode. So today we want to discuss about regaining control for your business and not letting clients run everything for you. I think it's a really important topic, and I think it's something that, again, we see a lot of coaches falling into, and we want to help you with that.
Yeah, I think the first thing I'm going to touch on, mate, is just like my journey as a PT. I think it's important to share it because I was the number one guy for this back between 2012 and probably 2014. Pure Gym, Bath Street. You've probably heard it before. If you've no, tune in. So basically at that point in time, I was just a brand new PT, never done it before. Came from a background of like probably scarcity in terms of money, family are poor, all that nonsense, right? So I get my first job in Pure Gym and I'm like, oh, here we go, a chance to make money. So I'm getting clients in the door. But at that point in time, those clients probably coming in at like 6 a.m, 7 a.m, and then a big gap to like 11 a.m. And then night time during the day, and I'm just putting them in anywhere. Wherever they want to come in, I'm putting them in a diary. And then I'm just committing my days of like starting at 6 a.m. and finishing at 9 p.m. But really, I'm not working 12 hours. I'm working probably like 5-6 hours just because I was so scared to like lose money or lose clients by saying I can't train you at that time. So I spent probably 2 or 3 years just doing 50 hours a week based on other clients and when they can come in. And it got to the point where I didn't want to do it anymore. And I actually at that point I ended up becoming an assistant manager. And people used to say, why do you want to be an assistant manager in Pure Gym when you get 50 sessions a week? And that's why I got burnt out, I got fed up, but it was all my fault. Like it was my fault because everybody else was in control of my business except for me because I was just willing to take on anybody. And at that point I was letting some people pay 20 quid because I knew them, were kind of my pals, and then other people were students, so they're paying 25, and then this other guy's got a good job so he's paying 40. It was a fucking riot, mate.
Yeah, probably no Stripe, no go-card list, no none of that. It would just be cash. And
Josh, I didn't have a wallet at the time, I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
I had no wallet. I had all this cash in my pockets, and it was literally, I looked like a fucking drug dealer or something. Just walking about Tesco, like getting my shopping, and I can remember it, pulling out all these notes. Don't get me wrong, I had a lot of money, but it was an absolute riot of business. I didn't know what Stripe was then, mate. Absolutely no idea.
Might not have even been about, but there's probably
I had no payment system ideas in my head. I was just taking cash off people on the gym floor. The odd person would bank transfer, and everybody else was in control of that business except myself, and I ended up just fucking hating it.
Yeah, and it's a really relatable story as well. And I think that I read something somewhere as well that gym owners and personal trainers can be, you know, some of the hardest workers and grafters in any industry. But is it on the most important things? That's what it comes down to again, that a lot of times everyone's so focused on trying to be busy, they're not focused on why they're doing it. Again, going back to the mission in the last episode and the main purpose of it as well. And I remember even like with those gaps, you kind of don't know what you want to do. You know what you kind of should be doing, you know, speaking to more members and sorting everything out because it's a riot, but you end up just training again because so-and-so's still training, or you sit in the staff room on your phone, or I remember even having a nap in the car and that. It's like just little things like that you don't really have any idea how to run a business. Even if you're earning 2, 3, 4, 5K, you can still be a total riot. And I think it's important to understand that and self-reflect. A lot of coaches do think that because I'm earning okay money, I'm a good entrepreneur, I'm a good business owner, but you don't really know what else there is, and you don't know how far you are off it until you almost invest in yourself a bit more.
And none it's on you. You've just let everybody else control what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, you make 5K a month, but is it on your terms? Because remember whose business it is, and this is something I try and remind the coaches and Rival X, is like, whose business is it? Is it yours or is it theirs? Because what you need to do as a coach, a PT, a business owner, whatever you want to call yourself, you need to figure out what exactly you want for your week. What does your week look like? Josh calls it the perfect week. And I like that idea because it's like, let them write down what their ideal week looks like and then work towards that. You might have already been so much of a riot in a state right now that might take time. You can't just go for the most unperfect week because you've done the last 2 years a fucking riot the way I did, to then having the next week being the perfect week. But you can start picking away at that wee bits at a time. So it could be a case of, if I look at your diary and be like, that's a fucking riot. Well, looks at my diary, 2012. The next week's not going to be the perfect week because some of your clients are already used to that. So it's going to take time to kind of dwindle it down and then go, right, who could you be doing without? What sort of clients are dicks and you don't even want them really? Well, let's cut them away.
Yeah.
because you don't even want them anyway. Why the fuck you showing up and you don't want to be with them? Again, it goes back to the whole money thing, and then just working it down to till eventually you've got your perfect week.
Yeah, because it's a funny one as well, because obviously even calling it the perfect week, you're planning out what your perfect week will look like, but it's understanding as well there is no perfect week, because there's always shit that comes about, and there's always, you're almost like a firefighter at times. You're putting out issues left, right and centre, and yeah, just kind of, you've got to make sure that you're putting in everything that you value and making sure that you're spending time with family or friends, or regardless of what your values are. Obviously it doesn't necessarily need to be those things, but you're making time for them. You know, no more are you just like winging everything. I think a lot of coaches and gym owners and everyone else just wing things left, right and centre. And we've been guilty of it. But it's making sure that you have a plan and a purpose to why you're doing it. Even bringing this podcast back, you know, we're clear on what we're doing. Again, you know, we're investing in high quality people to help us with the production and everything else. But for us, we need to do what's best for us. Do you know what I mean? We need to make sure that we're putting ourselves out there.
Yeah.
And this is something that we've scheduled into our, obviously we're not doing it weekly, but this is something that we need to make sure that we are actively keeping on top of.
Yeah. I think setting boundaries is important as well, mate.
Yeah.
Setting boundaries as a coach. So if you think of any sort of business that's not yours, whether it's dentists, whether it's, I always bring the JD Sports one up, they've got opening and closing times, but you don't really. Like you're 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. That's your, and in between that's fine. You don't have any boundaries at all. Clients are texting you at what time? 6 a.m. 9, 10 p.m. at night. Like you're non-stop all the time. And if you've got a partner, kids, any of that shit, what sort of attention are they getting off you? And what sort of attention are your clients actually getting as well? If they think you're just available to them like non-stop because you haven't set boundaries, then they're just going to walk all over the top of you. And you're going to be the one that suffers. You're going to be the one that's always stressed. You're going to be the one that doesn't sleep properly. They're just switching off and going to sleep. They text you at 9:30 at night, then they'll fall asleep. Then you're sitting thinking about the problem. You're sitting thinking about how you can solve it for them. You're sitting trying to sign people up. You're sitting trying to do all the tasks that you need to do because you haven't set any boundaries.
Yeah.
You're the one that suffers. Always you, never anybody else, because you just let it happen.
Yeah. And that's why you need to take back control in it. And you are going to let people down, you know, and that's something that you need to understand, that I think a lot of times coaches just, they're almost too emotional about everything. So whether someone leaves, someone's, you know, they need to let someone go, everything's such a big drama. Yeah. And you need to look at it from a perspective as what is going to help you be the best coach possible and the best business owner possible. And like when Chris said, even, you know, I remember Chris telling a story as well about doing literally back-to-back, well, obviously the 50-hour weeks or whatever it was. And, you know, the service is shocking. I remember my service being shocking, even after like 4 back-to-back. And you're like, you're counting reps and you're like, what the fuck are we going to do again today? What's even, you know, at that point, I didn't even really plan things. Like I would just kind of wing it all. I would just be like, right, we did legs last time, we'll do upper this time, or we'll do this and do that. Whereas it's not a good quality service and you're not going to get your clients the best results and you're going to feel burnt out. So you need to take that step back and think, right, what am I actually doing here? Again, what's the purpose of it? And create that week so that it reflects, right, okay, who do I enjoy working with the most? Who's someone I can really look forward to and get the best from? And don't just bring on anyone. Bring on people that you genuinely think you can help. Yeah.
Do you know who pops to mind when we're talking about boundaries? Remember Liz? Liz was jumping about, well, she's still in Arrival Decks, but Liz was jumping about all different, she does all different kind of group stuff because she loves doing like large group training classes, as they call them. But she was doing them in all these different centres, all these different times. And because everybody did love them, Liz never wanted to say no when she got asked to do extra ones. So we just basically had to say to Liz, look, who's suffering here? And it was Liz. Like Liz was suffering the most. So, but fair play to Liz, she took that straight into action and just told them straight away that she can no longer do all those kind of extra ones because she's the one suffering. I mean, I think what we could do here, Josh, mate, is we could come up with like the top 3 things that someone listening to this could fix boundary-wise in a sense of their business. So if you think of like a commercial PT, filling the diary up. So say, here's one straight away, which I was terrible at, is like you get a consultation. You've already kind of told yourself you wouldn't like to work too many nights. You don't want to work nights all the time because the gym's rammed, it's busy, but you've got this consultation in front of you and they can only do nights. So one of the biggest things for me is like, what boundaries should they set at that point then? Mm-hmm. What is the boundary for setting times for when you want to work.
Yeah. Well, you've just got to be blunt about it, and you've just got to simply say that, I'm afraid this is out with my hours. And I think the funny thing about it as well is if you give your clients too much control, they'll just pick whatever suits them best. But actually, if you start setting boundaries, they'll work around you because you think, oh, my clients can't do that time or they can only do this time. How do you know that? Because you've given them so much options. You've got no power. They've got all the power over you. If you start creating these boundaries, it's actually going to make things more exclusive. People are going to think, fuck, I want to make sure that I get one of these slots because they're filling out fast. This guy's always busy between these times. So it makes you seem even better and more exclusive. So it's really important that you start doing that. That's definitely number one.
I've got a prime example when that worked, but even though it was by default, it wasn't me setting boundaries, right? It was set upon me. So like earlier when I said I was a 50-hour PT a week, and then I became an assistant manager at Pure Gym. So at that point, I was working 40 hours for Pure Gym. So these 50 sessions, I had to say to those clients, I'm going to keep 20 hours on, so I can't train these all anymore. So I can only train the ones that work at this time. You used to have seen how quick the ones who said they couldn't train in the morning could then say they wanted to train in the morning. Because they told me back then, oh no, I can't train in the morning. So me being like, oh, I need the money or whatever, try to grow this business, I'll put them in anywhere. But the minute I had to work for Pure Gym, because I'd made that choice, and I could only work certain hours PTing, used to have seen how quick they all changed their mind. No, I can do 6 in the morning. But obviously that wasn't me being like, I fucking setting boundaries. I had to. At that point, I wasn't any good at that shit. I was terrible at it. But because I had set shifts in Pure Gym, I had to make that choice. And used to have seen how quick, probably about 60% of them could change their times. Mm-hmm. So like Josh said, if you give them too much rope, they'll just take advantage of you massively. So number one is definitely, it's your business, set the boundaries of when you want to work, and then go and find the clients who want to come in at that time. Mm-hmm. They're there. If somebody really, 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 really wants to change and they're struggling, they want to use a PT, and you say, here's the times I've got available now inside your hours that you want, they'll take it. They'll find a way.
Yeah. Finding the way to market to these specific demographics, like as well as if you only want to work 9:30 till 2:00, busy mums come to mind. So how can you then market to busy mums, right? Okay, well, if you're a one-to-one PT, you're not doing any paid advertisement, and just be active in those times in the gym. Speak to more people in those times during the gym. What's the point in you speaking to people at 6 p.m. at night, 8 p.m. at night when you don't train people then? So you need to be smart about these things as well. There's many other better ways that you can market your business that I'm sure we'll chat about in other episodes as well. But I think number 2 has to be learn to say no.
Yeah.
Learn to say no. Like it's so simple, yet people just are always trying to people please. Nobody wants to let anyone down. Everyone wants to help each other out. Everyone wants to be everyone's friend. But at what cost? Mm-hmm. It's always you that's getting the hits. Always you that's getting burnt out. It's always you thinking, for fuck's sake, they're asking me to do this again and this, but it's your fault.
Yeah. And that could present itself in your clients, or if you are a PT in a commercial gym, a Pure Gym, a gym group, you're trying to do the manager's favours all the time. We've got a classic guy like that in the group. He's not going to do it now because he's going on rent, but he was doing all the extra classes for the gym because he is a good guy and he wants to help people, but ultimately he's a people pleaser. But he's the one that's not getting much sleep. He's the one that's absolutely run down, and then his clients suffer. And it was just a case of saying, mate, you need to go and speak to management. Well, tell them, first of all, you're going to go and rent, which she's done, which is good. But secondly, you can't keep covering all the extra gym sessions because you feel bad for the management team or whatever that is. So he had to learn to say no. And he did.
Not his responsibility either, do you know what I mean? It's not, you don't own that gym. You're responsible for your own business.
Yeah.
And
it's
that's
good to help,
but
at what cost? Where's the balance? Do you know what I mean? I think number 3, mate, I don't know if you agree, I think you will though, is finding the boundaries of when you should respond to people as well. Yeah. So are your clients texting you all hours of the night? And again, you don't have to say to somebody, just so you know, I don't get back to people after 6 o'clock. You don't have to say that. You just don't reply. You just reply the next day.
And they'll realise as well, they'll get the hint very simply.
That's it. I think over time, it's like, I've learned that. You don't have to tell people that you aren't available at a certain time. You just do it. Because it always looks bad if you turn around and say to people, but just so you know, mate, if you text me at 6:15, I'm not going to be available. Yeah. You just look like a dickhead. But if they text you at 6:15 and you're not available and you text them at 9 o'clock the next day, then they start to go, right, okay, this guy doesn't get back to me until morning, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. So I think setting a boundary of in yourself, you don't need to tell people, is when you're happy to check your phone. Whether you're checking Instagram DMs, whether you're checking clients' messages, whether you're checking whatever it is you're checking, just have those boundaries with yourself. You don't need to tell people when you get back to them. Just get back to them when you want. Because I think it's massive, mate. I think if I'm bad for this, I'm sitting here giving this information. I'm better at it now, definitely. But when I used to check my WhatsApp, the time I was on it, man, it was fucking. It was like 6-7 hours a day.
Yeah.
On WhatsApp.
Yeah.
It's a lot lower now. I'd definitely like cut it by at least 50% because I got an extra phone, and then I choose not to use that work phone at certain times. Then I'll check it at certain times, and that's where I managed to fix that. So yeah, I think the third one's definitely key, mate.
Yeah.
It takes energy sitting replying to people all the time, and then you're probably sitting with your
100%.
girlfriend, your boyfriend, and they're just sitting thinking, fuck's sake. They probably had that conversation with you. You're always working.
Yeah.
I run my own business. You don't
Yeah.
understand. Of course you don't understand. But at the same time, you spend time with your loved ones as well.
Yeah. And it's the same coaches that are struggling to be present as well. Do you know what I mean? They're kind of thinking like, I'm never really there. I'm always thinking of like things I've not done, things I need to do. You know, and again, we touched on it in, you know, previous podcasts as well, a little bit as well. And again, we'll keep talking about these same subjects. But yeah, you've just got to make sure that you set these boundaries, because otherwise you're never, ever, ever going to get to where you want to be. It's just the simple kind of honest truth. You know, we're not going to beat around the bush. We're not going to say things will work out for you if you keep doing what you're doing. Nothing's going to change unless you're willing to change exactly what you're doing. And as Chris said, yeah, you have to be the person that's willing to say no to things. You have to be the person that's going to be willing to let people down. But it's going to make you feel so much more fulfilled. You're going to feel amazing. You're going to wake up every day energized, ready to go. And the final point I would probably say on this as well is when it comes to the WhatsApp or however, you know, whatever form of, you know, communication you have with clients, it's usually not that important anyway. You know, so you're thinking, I need to get back to this client, but why? Chat about it the next session.
You're not fucking
Just say,
dying, are they?
Exactly.
Even if that's not your responsibility.
It's almost never really, you know, something that is that important. And you could even just make sure that clients are aware of that as well, even like as a kind of agreement, so to speak, when you sign them up. You know, get in touch with me if it's something urgent. You know, if it's not, we'll chat about it the next session. Keep a wee note and we can chat about it at the end. You know, just little things like that. It's very simple.
Tell me another industry where you can contact somebody at 9 at night and they'll talk to you.
No.
Your doctor, your dentist, your dentist, the guy who gives you fillings. You can't speak to him after 5 o'clock.
No.
Probably can't even speak to him most times, to be honest.
No.
Why is it all right for PTs?
I know. It's so true. So
man.
true.
Why is it all right for PTs? So you can't just phone your dentist and say, I think I need a filling, man. It's a bit sore. I need bother me. I'll drive back in and I'll fucking open my shop up for you and I'll drill your teeth for you just because you're an amazing client.
Nah, they'll put a thing in 6 months' time and they'll drag you in and then cancel it.
Or they'll charge you about $3,000.
Yeah.
Fucking do it. So think about that. As always, as coaches, we're quite open to being available all the time.
Yeah.
It's fucking pointless.
But again, it's your own fault too. You know, it's because you're saying that you are available 24/7. It's because you're saying all these unrealistic expectations and you know, you're not backing these things up, because if you're setting yourself up for failure as well. You know, but again, we'll leave it there for this episode, because I think that we've covered the main topics. I think those are the main, again, these are the main key things that you need to do. It's not like 20 different things, just a couple, 3 Chris's gave there that are really simple, that if you started implementing, you'll see instant changes.
Yep. And if you need any help with that, drop us a wee message. We're not going to bite your hand off, bite your fucking nose off. Drop us a message and we can help you with that, because if that is the case and you don't set boundaries and your fucking business feels like a riot, we can help.
Yep. See you in the next episode.